I decided to get married much later than most people. At the age of 42, I got married and welcomed my son into this world when I was 45. The journey to pregnancy was very challenging, and the passion between my husband and me gradually faded in our daily routine. Before we could even cherish the joy of pregnancy, we faced harsh words from others. As a result, we decided to end our marriage. I was determined to raise my son with care on my own, but the actual challenges of parenting far exceeded my expectations. Still, there were moments when I felt that the challenges I faced were not particularly greater than those of many other mothers. The reason for that is, my name is Mina. I'm 70 years old. Currently, I live with my son, David. David is now 25 years old and is building a career as a surgeon, just like my ex-husband. One day, amidst the unchanged daily routine, my son asked me an unexpected question.
Mom, what kind of person was the father who left when I was still little?
Well, I felt like time stopped for a moment. I took a deep breath and began to recount my past memories to my son in front of me. It was 28 years ago. At the age of 42, I decided to share my life with a man named Richard, which was considered a late marriage by general standards. He was 2 years older than me, 44 at the time, and was working as a surgeon. He was exceptionally talented in his field and graduated top of his class in medical school. He continued to be a trusted figure at the hospital, rising to the position of chief of surgery. On the other hand, I worked in an office in the city as a temporary employee until I met him. Our fateful encounter occurred when I was dispatched to the hospital, where he worked to assist with administrative tasks. That hospital was located in a prime location in the city center and was a well-equipped university hospital. My job mainly involved supporting PR activities, especially designing posters for the hospital's events and awareness campaigns. I also distributed these posters throughout the hospital and displayed them in appropriate places. On a sunny day, I was heading to a surgical ward bulletin board to put up a newly designed poster. However, on the way, I slipped due to carelessness and twisted my ankle severely. A sharp pain shot through me, and I couldn't stand up on my own. Just then, Richard happened to pass by and immediately reached out to help me. After that, we started spending more time together. Our dates became more frequent. We introduced each other to our families and friends, and started discussing our future together. After about a year of a loving relationship, we exchanged vows of marriage. I was 42 years old at that time. He was very attractive to me as he had a high reputation at the hospital and a stable salary. However, after getting married, I came to see his true colors.
Hey, when are we going to have the child we desire?
It had been 3 months since we started our married life. Due to my age, it was difficult for us to conceive. Every month, I took a pregnancy test full of hope, but it was always a disappointment. I'm sorry. I've been taking the test every month, but there's no change yet. He clearly seemed dissatisfied and sighed deeply. After getting married, I gave up my career and prioritized my family.
You're just doing housework now, so at least I want you to fulfill your important role as a woman.
Why would you say that?
What? You don't like what I'm saying?
I was lost for words under the cold, harsh gaze of my then husband. But I will really try. The days that followed consisted of me meeting his demands and agreeing to his words. I still couldn't conceive, and his moodiness and sharp remarks increased.
To be honest, I'm reaching my limit. I felt a special attraction to you, but I can't wait any longer. Show me more of your efforts.
I'm truly sorry.
The pregnancy test you just took, you're not going to tell me it's negative again, are you?
I'm sorry. I had to report the test results to him every time. But every time I did, his blame overwhelmed me.
I don't want to hear it anymore. If you can't get pregnant, maybe I need to find another woman. Is that what you want? On top of not being able to conceive, I no longer find you attractive. I wonder why I'm even putting up with this.
My inability to respond made his words even harsher. But things started to change gradually, just before my 45th birthday. Look, I really am pregnant. Unable to contain my joy, I showed Richard the clear results of the pregnancy test. I believed that after this long wait, we could share the joy together. However, contrary to my expectations, his response was unexpected and felt cold from deep within.
I've heard there are high risks associated with pregnancy in older age. And think about it. If a child is born at this age, wouldn't you be worried about the child's health and the tough parenting that awaits?
What? I was taken aback by his sudden words. It took a moment for me to grasp the true meaning of his words, but from the tone of his voice, I could tell he wasn't happy.
Giving birth at 45 might not be uncommon these days, but it's not without issues, right? Considering the future of the child, isn't it too late?
So, should I not have this baby? Searching for the right words, I asked with a trembling voice. I was perplexed by his opinion, finding it hard to process my own feelings.
It's your choice, But for me, I think I want to end our relationship here.
His even colder words deeply hurt me, leaving me lost for words.
I promise to support child rearing, but after that, I want nothing to do with you.
As he said this, a sarcastic smile appeared on his face. In his eyes, it was clear he saw me as worthless. Ironically, in the outside world, he was highly regarded as a talented surgeon. Even if I expressed my displeasure about his behavior, it's unlikely others would believe me. Overcoming such circumstances, we eventually divorced. Afterward, I juggled multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet, gave birth to my son, David, and raised him on my own. Even with subsidies and grants, our financial situation was always tight. My parents had already passed away, and I had no one to rely on. It was a tough life for just David and me. Yet, David had a trait that set him apart from other kids. At the age of 4, this trait became pronounced. He was a very quiet boy who loved to read picture books, but he read them at an unusually fast pace. What surprised me most was that he began to take interest in adult novels, the same ones I read as a hobby. Is it normal for such a young child to be interested in adult novels? The experience of being a parent for the first time, coupled with the role of being a single parent, brought me tremendous pressure. I always kept a close eye on my son's daily actions and words, paying close attention. He never really caused any problems, but that changed one day when I received words from his daycare teacher after picking him up.
Mina, David's memory and learning speed are very unique.
According to the teacher, it was an episode during a rehearsal for a play at the daycare. While the other children took time to remember each choreography and role, David remembered them all after just one practice. The moment I heard that story directly, a mix of surprise and anxiety welled up within me. Is he different from the other children? While holding that thought, the cold words of my ex-husband flashed across my mind.
Having a child at an older age poses risks for the child, delays in intelligence or physical abilities, and even a higher chance of some sort of disorder.
I kept telling myself that it was not true, but the words of my ex-husband kept replaying in my mind, and I couldn't shake off the anxiety. For my son's sake, and to dispel my own fears, I decided to have David seen by a psychiatrist. And during the waiting time after the examination,
Based on the test results, David is.
the results far exceeded my expectations, and I was in shock, wondering if this was really the truth. The doctor then began to explain the details.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with your son. In fact, I feel that his unique talents and abilities are overwhelmingly superior compared to normal children.
Afterward, the doctor elaborated on my son's specific condition and the characteristics of his abilities. I listened intently, gradually feeling a sense of relief from the doctor's words. I then explained the circumstances that led to the consultation. Hearing that, my son, with calm eyes, spoke.
Wait, did something like that really happen in the past? That must have been a tough experience. I can't believe that a man I've never met, my dad, would have such thoughts.
A hint of dissatisfaction and anger was evident on my son's face. He was always a very kind-hearted child who thought of his mother no matter the situation. Even before entering elementary school, he actively helped with household chores, and sometimes even cooked in my stead. His rate of growth was noticeably faster compared to other children around him. As a result, I could focus on my outdoor duties with peace of mind. He excelled in school and needed no help. Once all my anxieties and worries were gone, my daily life became much more peaceful. To me, he was truly an elite. Thinking back to the times when I was distressed about not being able to conceive, I feel it was truly tough for me. Looking back, I feel the severity of the situation even more. My voice had a hint of fatigue, but my son responded gently.
Could you tell me more about that time if you don't mind?
I took a deep breath and began to speak with a hint of nostalgia. You are now 25 and work as a surgeon just like your father. It might surprise you, but when you were in high school, you thought as deeply as college graduates.
I had no idea about that. I never felt I was special or different.
Looking at your test scores, from elementary to high school, you always got perfect scores. I never saw you studying. At first, I suspected cheating due to the continuous perfect scores, but realizing it was your true ability, I was filled with pride. I felt so fortunate to have such a talented child. Isn't being a surgeon a high-pressure job?
Yes, definitely. Especially the responsibility of dealing with people's lives brings immense pressure.
You must be facing challenges too, but keep doing your best.
Do you know which hospital my father is currently affiliated with?
Last I heard, I think he was at MUC University Hospital.
It might be good to meet and talk to him in person.
Hearing my son express a desire to meet his father, I was deeply surprised. However, the seriousness in his eyes made me realize how earnest he was. Even if you go to the hospital, you might not find him there. Even if you do meet, I'm not sure how he'll react.
I understand the risks.
He then decided to visit the university hospital where his father was presumed to work. I had been feeling discomfort in my back recently, so I decided to get it checked at the same hospital. During the checkup, I specifically requested my ex-husband as the doctor. The day of the examination arrived. As the hospital building came into view, an indescribable feeling filled my heart. I felt the reassuring presence of my son.
It's okay, Mom. I'm here with you.
Grateful for my son's comforting words, we proceeded to the reception together. As we waited, my name was announced. I headed to the designated examination room. There, I saw a familiar nameplate printed with Richard Thompson. As we entered, I saw my ex-husband checking the medical chart of the previous patient. He was talking to a nurse. He looked a bit surprised to see me. After a brief silence, he spoke.
Are you Mina Smith?
As he read the name on the chart, his eyes met mine. There was a look of surprise at this unexpected reunion.
I can't believe it. To meet Mina Smith in a place like this, I'm truly astonished.
His tone was teasing, reminiscent of the man I once knew. More of our past relationship was evident than his professionalism. It's been a long time since we last met.
Indeed, it's been 25 years since our divorce. You seem to have aged a bit.
Although his words were a bit sharp, it was clear that he had aged as well. Meanwhile, my son standing beside me and the nurse was next to my ex-husband, silently observed our tense exchange.
By the way, is the young man standing next to you my son? Did he come here because he's sick?
There was a smug smile on his face, as if he was still mocking me for having a child at an older age. His attitude, seeing our son as a patient, infuriated me. Actually, he might be a bit special, but whether that can be called an illness.
I see. So, what is it?
He has what's called giftedness. At these words, both the nurse and my ex-husband looked quite surprised.
What? He's gifted.
Being gifted refers to individuals with specific talents or abilities that manifest at an extremely high level compared to the general population. In David's case, his memory and information processing abilities were exceptionally high. For instance, he always achieved top grades in school tests. He could memorize lines for school plays in an instant. In front of the surprised expression of my ex-husband, I said confidently, "David truly has an outstanding talent. Compared to him, you always look down on others. Aren't you ashamed?"
I can't imagine Dr. Thompson looking down on others.
It seemed that this nurse only knew the public face of my ex-husband, but I knew his true self.
So, my son's name is David. I'm your father.
Trying to lighten the mood, my ex-husband smiled warmly and spoke to David. However, David's response was unexpected.
You claim to be my father. Weren't you the one who left my mom for an unjust reason?
With David's frank words, my ex-husband's smile froze for a moment.
What are you talking about?
I heard it from Mom. You felt anxious about me being born to an older mother and openly voiced your doubts and concerns about my future. How could you, a doctor, say such things?
Confronted by his son's straightforward comments, my ex-husband hesitated momentarily. The nurse who was present seemed utterly shocked by this sudden development. Richard always maintained his composure and cared deeply about how others perceived him.
What are you talking about, David? Watch your words.
However, David, undeterred by his father's reaction, continued his questioning calmly.
You seem quite flustered. Are you breathing a bit faster than usual?
What nonsense are you spouting?
Witnessing Richard's behavior, I felt it was time to reveal his true nature. The nurse next to us seemed genuinely shocked, having never seen this side of Richard before. Is this the first time you've seen him like this? This is the other side of Dr. Thompson, the man everyone respects.
Don't say another word.
I continued with even more confidence. When I found out about David's special talent, that he's gifted, I did feel a lot of anxiety. But now his talent is recognized, and I'm so proud of him. He's now a renowned surgeon.
A surgeon? That's unexpected, but opposing me won't do you any good. Be careful if you don't want to lose your position in the medical field.
Ignoring the shocked gazes of the nurses, my ex-husband desperately tried to maintain his stature. From the looks on the nurses' faces, it was clear how much he had been hiding his true nature. At first glance, Richard seems emotionless, but to me, he looks like a psychopath, wearing a perfect mask. However, it was his son, David, who unveiled that mask.
Just so you know, I'm recording this conversation. Do you still want to continue?
What nonsense are you talking about?
Taken aback by David's unexpected statement, Richard showed signs of panic. Sweat began to drip from his forehead.
The head of this hospital, Dr. Johnson, and I spoke several times when I was in medical school, so I can easily relay this information to him.
Please, don't do that. I beg you, just leave it be.
The confident attitude Richard had when they first met was now gone, and he looked completely shaken.
You should apologize for your behavior towards Mom and for your past actions.
The words from his son were strong and resonated with clarity. He seemed firm in his resolution.
If I were to apologize, would you forgive me?
It's not that easy to forgive.
Then there's no point in apologizing.
From your words and attitude, it's clear you don't admit any wrongdoing. I'll act based on my conscience and sense of justice. Mom, there's no reason for us to be here anymore. Let's go.
Yes. David firmly took my hand and hurriedly led me towards the exit.
Wait, what are you thinking?
My ex-husband shouted from behind, clearly panicking, as he followed us.
I intend to relay the content of our conversation and your past deeds to Dr. Johnson.
David continued to walk the corridor calmly. The sound of Richard's frantic footsteps echoed from behind.
Wait, if you do that, my position will be.
But his words were cut off. The reason was the sight of an elderly man in a white coat standing in our path. The name tag on his chest read, Dr. Johnson.
Oh, you're David, right? It's been a while. Do you need something?
Dr. Johnson spoke gently, smiling at David. Richard was momentarily frozen by the sight before him, his face registering shock.
Oh, Dr. Johnson.
His face was visibly filled with anxiety and even emitted an aura of deep despair. It was as if all his hopes and expectations about life had been severed in an instant. As he observed Richard, his son calmly and in detail began to reveal the sequence of events that had occurred. The director's gaze grew sharper and colder as he listened to the story.
Thompson, come to my office later.
He instructed briefly but firmly. He was momentarily lost for words, then slowly nodded in understanding.
Yes, sir.
A few days later, it was revealed that the former husband had lost his job at the hospital due to his son. His actions were inexcusable, both as a medical practitioner and as a human being. The news quickly spread throughout the hospital and even to other medical institutions outside. As a result, the path to re-employment was closed off to the former husband. Once, he was highly regarded as the best doctor in that hospital, but now his reputation has plummeted. Furthermore, it was decided that the son would start a new job at a prestigious hospital. This hospital is renowned as a place where only elite doctors can work, affirming the son's capabilities, while the former husband, who had dedicated many years to the hospital, certainly has admirable skills. The son's achievements and sense of accomplishment at such a young age of 25 is even more commendable. Another distinct difference is the son's cheerful personality, which makes him loved by everyone. This character trait is not just superficial, it's deeply rooted within him. In comparison to the former husband, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say the son is ahead in many aspects. Months passed, and the former husband's presence gradually faded from the hospital's narrative. Instead, praises for the son's achievements and character began to increase within the hospital. I was blessed with a son at an older age and experienced various hardships while seeing him grow. However, now, witnessing my son's successes up close, I feel as if all those hardships have been rewarded. I don't know how much time we, as mother and son, have left, but I wholeheartedly vow to make the most of that time and to continue loving my son deeply.